Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Hey folks, Tom Vasel here.
And I'm Sam Healey.
Today we're taking a look at Super Fantasy, Night of the Badly Dead. Now this is a sequel to their first game, and in fact I think you can mix the games together because the mechanisms are the same. They're all called Super Fantasy, but this one here is about undead, which along fantasy lines is something I actually like more than not. I think I like fighting skeletons and zombies more than I like fighting goblins.
That's okay. That's weird though that you like undead theme, but you kind of shy away from zombies.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what it is. Well, no, because in an undead fantasy theme, zombies are like just a partial part of it.
Okay.
There's more of the skeletons and all sorts of cool vampires and stuff.
Bone dragons, those are cool.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, this is a cooperative game in which you're working together, basically a dungeon crawl style. Let me show you. Each player is going to pick a character at the beginning of the game, and you'll notice these characters are a little odd. They have these are different pieces of equipment that they will start the game with. As the game goes by, it's possible to upgrade your equipment. So perhaps this person, instead of having a double-edged guitar, will move to a sniper rifle. Nah, we'll leave him with a double-edged guitar. But maybe instead of the pick of destiny, well, you know what? Let's upgrade this. But you'll be able to upgrade as time goes by. And each of these shows kind of its range. It shows what kind of attack it might be. This pick of destiny here gives you +1 magic. It shows you kind of what your armor is. You also have a backpack here. As the game goes by, you will be able to put things into your backpack. And in this game, whenever you get like they're called minor treasures, like this elixir, that fills half of your backpack. And then maybe later on I'll find holy water and I can put that in the rest of my backpack. Each player also has 3 special abilities that they have on the side of them. And those special abilities are going to be different for each of the characters. You can see here we have it. She's kind of a ranged ranger type person. This person here has a giant sword, which they apparently stole from Final Fantasy. A good attacker. Here we have apparently Super Mario and Princess Peach have broken up, and she's off here with her sword. This is a gnome in a mech, which is a pretty cool idea. And then here we have this guy here with a gun, an Inquisitor. Now you'll notice that he has these special abilities. They all have these 3 special abilities that they can use. As the game goes by, you're going to have a tracker here that starts at the bottom. And when you're rolling dice, whenever you roll a star, you're going to move up one on one of these trackers. When it gets all the way to the top, you're going to be able to use that special ability, then it resets. Now you have there's other ways you can, deliberately try to charge these abilities to use them too. At the top here, every time you do something that gives you experience points or killing an enemy, you'll be moving this across, and every time you reach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here, so you'll see like right away, you get to you can level up. And that lets you upgrade this. So right here you have the Roundhouse Kick of Faith. Okay, you can activate this ability in melee combat. Gives you +2 attack, and you can move the target monster a free square. Well, that can be upgraded to the Roundhouse Kick of Faith 2, which now gives you +4 attack, and then you can move the monster. And then you can do it to the Roundhouse Kick of Faith 3, which gives you a +5 attack. Then you move it free square, and you can knock it through a tombstone, destroy it, and the monster takes an extra damage. Down here, Unshakable Will gives you a shield die and a will counter. And if you have the will counter, every time you suffer 1 damage, you get an experience point. Here, it's the same thing, but 2 shield dice. Here, it's 3 shield dice, and you can discard the will counter to do damage to the attacker. So there's different things that you'll be able to do in that regard. All this revolves around your stats. Each player has different stats down here. You'll see that strength is 3, cunning is 2, aim 1, magic 3, speed 1, defense 2. All these stats are what the game revolves around with some dice. On your turn, you have dice that you can use. So let's say I want to move. I'll say I'm going to move, I'll use 2 dice to move. Or I might decide to attack someone. Okay, I'll use 2 of my other 4 dice to attack. And now I'm going to use 1 die to do something magical, and then I'll save my last die and turn it into some defensive thing. You can do that. So you basically can use dice at your leisure, but you only have so many dice that you have each turn. When you do something, let's say I'm attacking someone, so I'm going to say, oh, I'll be using strength for this. You roll your dice. This is a result of 3. That might be enough to hit the opponent or to do the test. You know, there's different numbers that you need to get. The dice have 1 and 2 sorts, but they also have a star on them. When you roll the star, that equals your stat number over here. So for this person, if they're doing a strength test, they're going to do well because a star gives them 3. So they have 1, 2s, and 3s. While if they were doing aim, the stars are only 1, so they're 1, 2s, and 1s that are on the die. So that's basically the gist of how characters are going to take their turns. You're going to have some dice. You're going to decide which dice to allot to different actions until you run out of dice. Then it's the next player's turn. Now each scenario, the book comes with different scenarios, will have different monsters that are on the board and different things on the board. You'll see that this game comes with tombstones, and characters are going to be going around and they're going to be fighting against these different heroes. So you might have your character and you'll be moving around and attacking them and doing damage to them, again using that dice system that I showed you. And for the most part the characters are just stand-ups like this, and they have a back because it matters where they face. It matters for monsters as to how they move. You also notice there's tombstones, and there's different symbols on the board. That's because monsters can rise out of these. Each turn you'll be rolling a die, and monsters will be coming out of that symbol. But you can attack or try to shove the tombstones, and then they'll fall over, blocking that tomb so things can't come out. There's also coffins where bad guys will show up from. And there's wooden pillars, which are just kind of on the board for decoration and so on and so forth. So you have small monsters, you have big giant monsters, and you have mega monsters that will come on the board. There's tokens that will give monsters special abilities if you'd like the monster to be more difficult. And the game actually comes with these sheets here that show you the stats for the monster. So here, you can see that the different monsters have different abilities, and that depends on how powerful you want them to be. So let's say a veteran skeleton. So this shows basically how far he moves, how many hit points he has, if he rolls a star, what happens, and so on. Also, you'll notice there's colors here. You were supposed to move these creatures kind of computerized towards the opponents when it's their turn. And sometimes there's 2 different people that they could chase. You know, they always go after the closest person or so on. Well, here it shows what color person they will go after if there's a difference. And then it shows some other special abilities about these guys. And then again, you can make them harder by flipping to the other side and using maybe a tougher version of that monster. So the scenario will have different things that you're supposed to do. You have a certain amount of time to do so because you'll be using this board here. And what will happen is you're going to have a certain number of rounds, but every time one of your heroes dies, the number of rounds determined to end a scenario is going to shorten. So you're going to have 2 tokens that are on here. One token is going to keep track of what round you're on. The other token is going to keep track of when the scenario ends. And they move together, and when they end, the scenario is over. And if you haven't accomplished whatever the scenario's goal is, then you lose. So that's kind of a basic overview of the game. It's total cooperative. No one's playing the bad guys. You play them by moving them around the board, and you either win or lose as a group. Okay, well, the first thing, and I think this is a kind of a critical thing for this game, and that's the components. I love these little wooden bits, the little coffins, the little tombstones, and the pillars. I like the artwork. And there's where it stops, I think.
Yeah.
Stand-ups are okay. And I understand that they keep the cost of the game down. But they just don't look as good, especially when every other game out there has miniatures at this point. Okay, what are you doing? Playing?
Yeah, I'm playing. I'm having fun with the game.
I actually had because the stand-ups, I know people like stand-ups. I've never really understood that because I'm constantly have to pick a stand-up to remember what's on it. They have them different colors, so you can kind of remember.
You can't recognize the silhouettes on the background?
No, I can't. Well, I mean, they're okay, but I mean, I'm constantly just have to remember what they are.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes me out of the game. And granted, we're spoiled.
Yes.
Because so many games have miniatures now, but because so many games have miniatures, we know the barrier to doing it is lower.
Right.
Anyhow, that's my only complaint about the components. I like everything else. Well, there's also they have little counters for poison and stuff, and they're like teensy weensy counters.
Yeah.
Oh, and the special ability for each character, I wouldn't have minded if they had maybe color-coded those. Because sorting them out is a bear.
Oh, you're talking about these things?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like a wall of text. That's fine, but they're all the same color. Why couldn't they put like the character's face on them or something so I quick sort them out?
Yeah.
At the beginning of each game, it's like, all right, who has Unshakable Will? Who has Storm of Bolts? And
All right.
What did you think of the components?
Components were, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, you gotta admit these are pretty cool.
Tokens are cool. Yeah, I will give that.
We're gonna steal them for Descent.
That is their only redeeming quality. That was neat, but I'm with Tom on the stand-up thingies. It's just, I know it saves you money as far as making the game is concerned, and that lowers the price of the game and so forth and so on. So I get where it's coming from, but these square little thingies just don't really do it for me.
You rather have them like be cutouts?
Yeah, and again, it doesn't have to be really detailed cutouts. I mean, if you look at the stand-ups for Dead of Winter, which I know for you is one of the down points of that game, but
they are easier to tell apart.
Stand-ups, you can tell the zombies apart from the other people, and they're all in different poses, so those stand-ups are palatable, I guess. These are just like a throwback to the early 80s, man. I mean, it's just a detracting factor.
Well, what'd you think about the crazy theme / artwork?
That's cool. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the cartoony aspect.
Alfric of May Believe Me.
Of this, and, Don Pizarro de la Maza, the Ninja Inquisitor. That's just really neat. It's that kind of ingenuity is what makes this game kind of shine a little bit. But then you get into everything else. I mean, even the modular boards are not bad.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's really only the stand-up counters.
Yeah.
But the artwork is fun, and it has this strong humor flavor.
Right.
Obviously, with the Pick of Destiny, there's actually a tile that it's called Lightsaber. They don't even pretend. They don't say, like,
nope.
Laser sword.
It's Luke's lightsaber, and it has lightsaber on it. Period.
I'm surprised LucasArts hasn't shut them down.
No, they probably will now.
So there's that. But gameplay-wise, as I said in the first time I did a video of this, the Super Fantasy, I love the dice system. It's one of the most innovative, interesting systems I've ever used. You can use a whole lot of dice if you really want to nail a monster, but then you have you don't have much dice to move.
Right.
You can move a lot. It gives you a lot of freedom to move around, and it makes your stats really worthwhile. Like this person here, their strength is 4. I love that. When they roll the stars, but everything else are 1s, and that's reflected in the dice.
Yeah.
Now, there is some fiddliness as you have to remember what skill to use for what. After a while, I mean, you're using strength to attack, aim to do a range attack, magic to do a magic attack. Which one are you using to do traps? Is it cunning? Yeah, I think it's cunning. There's some of that going on in there.
And therein lies the problem. Even now, I mean, the game backwards and forwards, and you still have a problem remembering it. So, yeah, it's that was one of my main thing here. It just seemed fiddly. The art was cool. The idea was cool. I love how they have these two kind of all these different genres mixed up into all these different characters. But it just seemed like a exercise in mediocrity.
Oh, see, now I don't feel that way because I love the differentiation between the characters. I love the special abilities, how you charge them up and use them, and I love the dice. And I know that it feels a little fiddly, but I didn't mind so much because it was a co-op game and because we're working together and helping each other out.
Yeah, I get that too. But you just hit on one of the other things that I didn't really enjoy about the game is that you had special powers, but you couldn't always use them. You had to charge them up, and then they would deflate, so to speak.
I know, but it makes them feel...
Then you had to puff them back up.
It's like a video... But I think of it more as a video game.
And then you use it, and then you...
Yeah, but they were pretty powerful abilities.
Yeah, they were. I guess it might be too overpowered if you could always use them, but that was just one of the things I was like, if you're going to give me a special power, give me a special power. Don't make me... You know what I'm saying?
The game is a pure co-op. So the enemies move in a kind of programmed way, which I'm always kind of a little wary of. Wrath of Shardlan and Castle Ravenloft did that. This game does it in a pretty decent way, although sometimes you're like, I'm not sure which direction he'd go. I mean, you follow it, and it says that the rules like play the monsters smart. Don't cheat. I get that. I almost wish the game had an option for a dungeon master.
Yeah.
But as it is, I do like the co-op of this a lot. Overall, I enjoyed the game. I understand the components aren't as good as they could be, and it is slightly fiddly, like Sam said, and it's a pain to set up and take down those because there's like piles of little pieces. But I still think it's an excellent game, and if you're on a budget, perhaps a good co-op game. Man, take this system and put a beautiful components on, and I would say it was one of the best dungeon crawls / co-ops I've ever played. Really, I would. As of now, though, I still like it a lot. I'll give it 1.5 skeleton arms up.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it a skeleton nose up. Skeletons don't have noses.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So that's where I'm kind of at. I'm middle ground. I'll play it if everybody else wants to play the game, I'll play it, and I'll go along with it. I won't sour it for everybody else or anything like that. But I'm never going to choose this to this game for a game night, and I'm not going to put my money into it either, just because it's fiddly. In my opinion, I'd rather be playing Descent.
Alrighty, so that is Super Fantasy: Night of the Badly Dead,
as opposed to being goodly dead.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.